Anyone Fish is back. Before we get into tonight's guest, tonight's episode is sponsored by McGinn's Fitness Training. Div's still doing his bits in the community and doing his thing. Tonight's guest really doesn't need an introduction. We've had him on twice already. We've been trying to get him on best part of half a year now. Busy man, we'll get into that tonight. It's none other than the man behind Spartan Child Protection. It's Alex Cairnie. How you doing, big man?
Aye, I'm fine.
I think we're going to find out a wee bit more about what's really going on. But before we begin to what Spartan's been up to and what Alex has been up to, what have we been up to? Because this has been a bit fucking, 3 months or something? 2 months?
Fuck, that's like when you see one of your school pals you're not seen in 10 years, like, not much, mate.
What have you been up to? Fuck all, mate.
What's been happening?
Fuck all, mate.
Somebody just took a kid on Wayne, I know I did. I seen that. I
You have to see that?
Aye.
That's madness, isn't
But
it?
it was at the same time, obviously we've got Alex come on and a breaking news came on my phone the other day and it was about what's happening in Dublin and these riots are going on and I thought, the world's fucked up, man. It genuinely is, so now we've got Alex to tell us how we'll fix it.
Put the world to right. I don't think me telling you is going to make you feel any better what I'm about to say, so...
No, and you know what, that is the shit thing, because the world, reality's, nobody's talking reality. Everybody's just listening to about Suter. But we'll touch on Spartan firstly, because yous are absolutely smashing it. In my eyes, heroes. I don't know how anybody can say anything else other than what you guys do is phenomenal. Actual chasing predators that seem to think that it's alright to just cut about in society, and it's just not. So Spartan, absolutely flying just now.
Yeah, busy, always busy. Busy inbox. Busy in general with all the arms and legs that come off of the Spartan stuff. It's become, well, it always kind of has been a whole other entity. It's never been for me just a team that seeks out the predators in society. That's the bread and butter of the team. That's where the team's recognised. But over the years where I've done the educational stuff for the parents, the lives, obviously I expose a lot of other stuff, the corruption, systemic failures, other forms of institutional abuse. So it grows arms and legs, and that's where you get the engagement, because it's not just a sting every night. It's not just, stings get generic, they get repetitive. You could say, if you've seen one or two, you've probably seen them all. They are just really rinse and repeat, huge amount of work goes into 30 minutes of viewing for the viewer at the other end. But everything that's came off the back of the Spartan stuff is all consuming. So you don't know what the next message is going to be when you open it. You can't know until you take a look. And some days you wake up and you just, it's like immediate feeling of dread because you're going to look in it, and you might wake up feeling good. The first couple of messages, they're just so horrific and toxic and damaging, and they just set you on another path. And then that's you for the day. If you read something that somebody's going through and they don't know where to turn, and they've tried every avenue and they've came to you as a last resort, it sets you on a trajectory that just, it's kind of more important than what you had planned for the day. So it takes precedent, and that's kind of where you find yourself. Yeah, it's never going to end, and it does always sound doom and gloom. And I've never really been one for watching podcasts where it's me that's on them. But I watched a few snippets of some, and I actually was like, I've got no idea why MD would want to listen to me for an hour, because it's so toxic. And there's no much fun in this. It's not like enjoyable. It's very, very damaging. And a lot of your audience are survivors themselves and people that's gone through hell. So I'm always trying to find ways to get the message across without getting too graphic. But in order to generate a new audience and generate real real-time awareness, you have to be graphic. You have to tell people what's happening. They need to know the scale of the problem. There's new trends start all the time. There's new things pop up in the radar, and I say, I've not seen that before. That's new. It could be a data breach where phone numbers are harvested somewhere abroad, and kids in the UK start getting their phones bombed with live videos of, foreign men masturbating at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And all of a sudden you'll have an influx of messages and it's dotted all over the UK, and I'm trying to join the dots at the other end and say, where's this came from? Because this is new. That's happening. There's the guilt tripping as well, It's like phishing, so they'll appear online and they'll identify a vulnerable child. They'll then tell the child that they've got images of them, or that they've stolen something from their phone, hacked their phone, and they're going to then, so they then basically ransom them. That's happening. In fact, I've got one live today or yesterday, which a kid has been ransomed, in this area, for to hand money over to somebody. If you send us, 400 quid, we don't care how you get it, steal it, whatever. Go and steal your mum's bank card and transfer it to this account, and we're going to put naked images of you all over. What they're also using is AI, the abuse of AI. So they'll actually take a kid's image off their social media and then AI a graphic image of them, and then guilt trip them, mate.
So it's evolving, isn't it? It's
evolving all the time, because fraudsters who existed to scam adults with fake banking calls are now tapping into the vulnerable children market, and it's a ready-made market because there's no shortage of vulnerable kids that can't see danger coming, ASN kids that don't know what the danger is. So there's a ready-made market. Fraudsters don't have a set of parameters. They will defraud anybody, and it's just this is just going to explode, and it's going to become so enormous and so out of control in the next few short years that people, that they'll think their heads have fallen off with how bad this is going to get. Mark my words, on record, this is what's coming. And it's going to be every single minute of the day, target, because this is the land of, opportunity and free and easy if you're of that ilk. Yeah. We are getting exposed on every front and exploited on every front, and we've got the powers that be, they're no help to us. There is no last line of defence. So it's been left to members of the public to step up.
But when members of the public step up, they then get branded.
Of course they do.
But you're thinking about implications of that as well. Obviously, if you're, as you're saying, we're going to see a boomerang onto the scene, suicide rates are going to go through the roof as well, because a young vulnerable woman who doesn't want to go to her family or anything like that, saying she's been blackmailed for pictures, it's maybe the easy way out for her, isn't it?
It's not just women, by the way. Just want to put that one out there that's getting blackmailed for pictures.
Yeah, young kids. Everything has an effect.
Males as well, mate.
Yeah. And adults get blackmailed as well with this revenge porn stuff. But, we do get a lot of requests to help adults, which we'll always try and help somebody. We always do. And you take it on. I don't decline somebody. If I can help, I'll help. If I can see something that the police have missed or another avenue to resolve it, I'll do it. But the scale is just enormous, and the demand for a reaction and a response from us, from me, from the team, it's just enormous. The time, everything, the cost. How do you go and earn a living? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you get on? How do you have a life outside it? The answer is you don't. And it intoxicates every single aspect of your existence. Relationships, being a parent, everything. There's a kickback from everything every single day. I'm not complaining. I'll never complain because it's done by choice. But it's very, very hard to be smiling and normal and happy and just, an average, decent, happy person when you've got a huge part of your brain that's constantly saying, have you did this, have you did that, have you looked at, it just plays tricks in your mind.
Hope you don't mind me saying, but even I think, well, this is obviously the third time I've had you on, but I feel as if there's a change in you this time. And there's that saying, like, you need to be careful how long you stare into the abyss, or you become the abyss, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
how do you manage that, man? It's
I don't think. I don't think I think it's beyond manageable. I think that ship's sailed.
Because it's deep. It's as you say. This is a front line. It's
Yes.
any normal person that would strike a fear of God at them.
And still, there's an untapped audience out there. The Spartan page is at about 105,000 followers, which is incredible. Started from nothing from day one, you know, and we can get anything up to 10, 12 million views a month and hundreds of thousands of interactions. But that's a drop in the ocean for the people that we're trying to reach, who just don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And they'll only know about our existence when it happens. When their 12-year-old daughter comes into the living room and says, "Mum, look."
When they need you.
And then they'll go and they'll start searching, and then we might pop up, or a team in England, and they'll send them back to us, or vice versa. You know, there's teams in England, like on Sunday there was 9 or 10 live stings broadcast. I think we were out on Saturday night doing one in Alloa. Over the weekend, 20 odd live stings, you know, which is, it sounds a lot and it's amazing, but it's nothing compared to what's going on behind the scenes, and the amount of live chats being conducted by adult decoys that will be taking place in the UK at any one time. You'll be talking in the thousands every day, every single day. There'll be thousands of live dialogues being orchestrated behind the scenes that you don't know about. You know, that's an hour in itself. People don't really, they want to know how it works, but they don't have to know how it works. And we've got to be cautious. We're giving too much of that away. My message is to trying to educate people as to what's going on. The Spartan stuff kind of speaks for itself. Everybody kind of knows who we are and what we do. Off the back of that, I'm deeply entrenched in exposing establishment corruption.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of my day. Consuming information. And the only outcome, I think, for anybody that gets into it, unless you're the most in tune, balanced person imaginable, is that it absolutely seeps into your pores and your DNA, and it, you know, you carry an incredible amount of hatred for the establishment, which I clearly do.
Yeah. No,
I've always been honest about that. And when the grooming, I hate calling it the grooming gang inquiry, it should be called the rape gang inquiry, which is what it is. When that was launched, you know, almost 5 months ago, everybody thought we're going to get answers, but I went on record straight off the bat on platforms like X, on our page, and said this will never ever amount to anything. And it will be a complete and utter whitewash. And it will be a massive cover-up of an already massive cover-up on a scale never before seen. And obviously I've got my detractors and my haters and my trolls that will say, "Oh, you're so negative." Because I can only be negative about something like that because it's being conducted by the very people that covered it up the first time round and handed vulnerable, exploited children back to predatory police officers, predatory social workers, predatory individuals from all sorts of multiple agencies that are empowered to protect children. They handed them back to them. It's all documented. People will check everything I say. It's all there in black and white. We've got all the proof that we'll ever need. There's never been a requirement for a national inquiry, so to speak. If you if you want to really get down to the brass tacks of it, we don't need one because we know it happened. There's no denial that it's happened since the 70s.
So it's accountability, innit?
All we need to do is identify And this is where it falls down. We have to identify the civil servants who failed in their duty, who were completely and utterly negligent. These people are a malignant cancer. In authority, that's what they are. A complete and utter dereliction of their duty, their high salaried duty to protect the vulnerable in society. And they failed on an industrial scale, right across the board. They all failed. And the ones that maybe didn't have a massive involvement still failed because they were complicit, because they knew everybody else was involved, and all they're doing is rubbing shoulders and looking the other way and saying, well, if he gets thrown under the bus, it might come back to me and him, and it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And if you say, if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to abuse one. That's the saying. And it's the same in these authorities. There's a pecking order, and you've got the upper management, the seniority, that call the shots and dictate the narrative. And they can say it without saying it. Make this go away. The floor is their audience. Make it go away. Tick the boxes, but be very careful about what you highlight here. And that is the same thing, because it envelopes everybody and every agency. And we've got the documented proof that police officers further assaulted and molested children that were taken to them, that they handed children back to grooming gang facilitators and people that organised and orchestrated grooming gangs. They handed them back numerous times all over the UK. That we've got the documented proof that they called children prostitutes. We're the only country in the world that label children prostitutes. We've got the documented proof. It's been said in Parliament, it's been said by MPs, it's been said by senior police officers. They were child prostitutes acting under their own free will. Children don't prostitute themselves unless they're extremely damaged. And it's never prostitution, it's rape. Call it what it is, it's molestation. So all of these people, in order to conduct the inquiry correctly, which is why in the past few days I've been in an absolutely stinking mood, which was noticed on a live chat the other night by Craig Houston, who came off and said, you're boiling over, I can see it in your face. Yep, I am boiling over, because the liars that are holding all the power and dictating the outcome of this inquiry are still protecting thousands of civil servants. They cannot possibly conduct a forensic accountancy of what's going on in the last 20 or 30 years without throwing thousands of civil servants, high-paid, high-profile personnel under the bus. They can't do it. Jess Phillips is not fit for the job. She's a diabolical human being, the safeguarding minister. Right? She's not got, I don't care what anybody says, there's no documented evidence of her making a difference to the lives of children in the UK. And as long as she's at the helm, the Prime Minister's protected, because she's part of the same cabal and they're singing off the same song sheets. And she's in power and she's in-house to protect them, and vice versa. It's just a merry-go-round of protection and back-rubbing.
Wasn't he the head of prosecution back when that was
Yeah, he was, and a lot of people, revert back to that, and we're all guilty of bringing up all the historical stuff, and that's fine to a point, but we have to get away from continually talking about the Jimmy Saviles of the world and the failings, and who gave who a pass. We know it, it's documented, we know what happened. Nothing happened to Starmer then, nothing's going to happen now. So again, opportunity missed. Should they be indicted for allowing these people to continue their abuses? Of course they should. Are they ever going to be? No. We've got a royal prince just now who for decades has lavished himself in every single luxury known to exist, and he will never ever face prosecution for being involved with one of the world's most notorious sex traffickers, and we'll never know the absolute proof. There's still nobody in planet Earth that truly knows who Epstein is outside of the senior FBI and the senior intelligence services. They might know who he is, but the public definitely don't know who he is. A normal, unqualified individual doesn't become a billionaire with a network that spans the globe and gets into a position like his, with a diary with those types of names in it, because they're not somebody. We'll never. I've got an idea, but it's too long to tell you about who I believe him actually to be. But when we're protecting royal princes who still likes to proclaim his innocence but hands a stranger £12 million that he's never met, you know, it's diabolical that these people can even breathe the same air as decent members of society. So every single part of what I do on a day-to-day basis, everything I was walking across the road, you know, there, and I've got something playing, and when I was walking along the street, a guy and a woman were behind me, in front of me, and said, is that the grooming gang thing you're listening to? It was just a news channel, and I'm listening to it constantly, and I'm constantly looking for little things that other news platforms might miss, because they don't capture it right all the time. And you've got to be careful what you listen to. And I'm so absorbed in it that it's probably in my head 95% of my day.
Yeah.
Because I just cannot believe that yet again it took the world's richest man to shine a light on Britain's rape gangs. And off the back of that, all of these news channels and all of these people with their big followings have now increased their followings and now want to be seen as some type of authority in the subject when they had absolutely no interest in the subject last year. And I've always been interested in exposing this for what it is. And people write stuff and I see it and I get it, and it's complimentary and I understand it. But see, when people write things like, "Oh, thank you for saving our kids" and stuff, well, that's not what I do, right? And I know it's meant in the best way, but you save your own kids by putting a roof over their head and feeding them and making sure they live in a safe house. So I don't have any involvement in any of these children in that sense. We just catch people that want to get to them, but it's the tip of the iceberg. And I know that it looks like a lot, and it is a lot for a team of a couple of people, a very small organisation, but it's nothing. In the bigger scheme of things, what we actually contribute is minuscule. I'm not playing it down. It's a lot of effort, but it's still minuscule against the scale of the problem nationally. People are asleep. People don't realise how bad it's going to get. They don't realise how bad it is, and they don't realise what's coming. And I don't want to say things that will be inflammatory or incendiary, and people will twist and, "Oh, you're this," But all those labels are all done to death. Far right, bigot, racist, blah blah blah. Million times I've heard it. Boring. Go and read a dictionary and educate yourself, and go and find some new terms to slander us with. I couldn't care less, because it's the truth, and the truth will always hurt. And the facts of the matter are, the UK are currently supposed to be investigating decades of organised, orchestrated, systematic abuse of British white girls by predominantly Pakistani men. That's the absolute facts. Why is that so difficult for anybody to accept and understand? Why is that so awkward for the Mayor of London, who is a disgusting, diabolical excuse for a man, to vocalise? Why can't he bring himself to acknowledge that his city has got organised grooming gangs and organised rape gangs in it, and people that facilitate the abuse of young British girls, white girls predominantly? What's wrong with just being honest? I would give them my respect if they would just stand up and say, do you know what? We've got this catastrophically wrong. We've absolutely failed, but we're going to do everything to implement a complete and drastic change of how we approach this, how we process it, how we criminalise it, and overhaul our justice system so that the sentence fits the crime, you know, and we're nowhere near that. And we're not going to be anywhere near that for 5 or 10 years. I cannot see a change. I can't see anything. I can't see anybody with the strength to take this country to a safe place. So people will say, what do you think I should do? What can I do to better, like, make myself more insular and safe? And I say, well, there's 2 things that I would do, which I've done. And I said it to you outside, I would learn how to defend myself, and I would learn how to survive. And I don't mean by being plugged into the mainstream, by being plugged into the matrix. I mean to detach yourself from the life that you know, the comfort blanket that you know, and I would seriously learn how to stand out with society on your own. And it's a very lonely, cold place to be. But if you can get to grips with that, and I understand not everybody's capable that way, and some people just live in a bubble, and that's a great place to exist. But see when the full momentum of what's coming to the UK lands and takes hold, then it's just going to be horrific for anybody that's non-compatible with, you know, serious threat to life.
Do you think this is orchestrated, this
Absolutely,
influx of people?
absolutely.
It's scary how quick it's just came.
But it's here.
Aye.
Aye,
It's here to stay.
Aye.
And it's not going to go anywhere. And it's not going to get better. And voting, you know, Rupert Lowen or Farage or Ben Habib, as good as some of Ben's qualities may be and Rupert's quality, you know, it's never going to be enough, because that's the coal face. That's what you see at the front. So you're getting to read the packaging, and you see these publicly endorsed names. Forget that. It's the corporations that dictate everything behind the scenes. I don't want to go down the, you know, mentioning the names that get mentioned in every podcast. We know who I'm talking about. These shadowy corporations that are behind everything, that dictate everything. They dictate interest rates, they dictate how you live, they dictate everything. The quality of your existence on this earth is dictated by them, and you'll never ever be able to get to them, because they're too insular and they're too protected, and they've got trillions of pounds at their disposal. So people need to make a difference, and at this moment in time we're so incredibly divided, and there's such a horrible rhetoric spewed against anyone with an opinion, and I'll never be quiet, because I don't need to be liked. I've got no desire to be liked by anybody. I've got no desire to be that guy that everybody knows and, oh, he's amazing, you know, he's in the front page of a magazine, or there he is on a talk show, and people fawning over you. That doesn't interest me. No. So I've always been prepared to, you know, fall on my sword for this. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I know that at the end of this, I know that at the very least I'll be able to look myself in the mirror and say, well, I never deviated from what I was trying to put out there and expose. And have I made a difference? I hope I'll make a difference to somebody's life, but I don't know, you know, if that day will ever come. But it will end somewhere. This what I'm doing will end somewhere. Aye. You know, I'll bring it to an end, or something out with my control will bring it to an end. But between now and then, I'm all in on it. So I don't know what will happen, but what I do know is that things are going to get very, very dark way faster than anybody realises, and people need to seriously up their game and learn that you are just a number, and that you don't matter, and neither does your safety or the safety of your children matter.
You know, as well, I think it's, I don't know if it's the right term, but see the middle right are on the rise as well, where you're getting normal mothers and fathers who are opening their eyes now and they're seeing these fucking news reports, whatever else, and it's always these types of names, and people are starting to wake up, whether it be slowly or whatever, but this middle right, I think people are starting to catch on a wee bit more, and it's probably for organisations like yours where people are starting to see it a wee bit more.
I think very slowly protesting and stuff, although it's, you know, it's really repetitive and it just feels completely fruitless, you do get a few more numbers. Now, when you get out there in the street, you get to speak to people and you get to say to them, look, you know, don't stop buying into this far right narrative that we are, you know, thuggish, whatever we are.
We're belt fed that after the
You know,
mainstream media.
yeah,
aren't we?
you are belt fed it. It's like rammed down your throat, and it's diabolical. I don't wish any harm in anybody that stands on the other side of a line to me and calls me a Nazi. I don't really care. It's just names, sticks and stones. Do I think that a lot of these people are of a sound mind? No, I probably don't. The reason being, I've been all over the UK and I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'm not looking at healthy, balanced people a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry if that comes across derogatory to anybody, but I don't see people that appear well and of sound mind, and, you know, they act completely irrationally. Their argument is null and void usually from the off, and all they do is spew hate. And then you find out, when you dig like we do, that they're being paid to get on coaches and turn up and protest against us, that they are part of an organisation which I won't mention, who are massively, I'm probably one of the top names in their list to target, and they turn up in the most bizarre random places, in number, in force, and they're loud and they've got all the best of equipment and it's all orchestrated and it's all funded. But yet when I look at the people doing the talking, I know that they couldn't organise a barbecue. So who's behind them organising it? Because they certainly didn't put those protests together.
Is it this George Soros? Or
it could be.
Allegedly.
It could be any one of them.
But as soon as you say it and open up on it, you've got hate against them. You're full of hate. You're this. You're a bigot. You're a Nazi, and it's only one side that gets an opinion.
I've got no interest in all of that stuff.
It's ridiculous.
See all of that hatred, and I'm a pacifist when it comes to that. I couldn't care less about that type of stuff. I don't hate any demographic. I just don't care enough to have those emotions. And that's where I sit. You know, I'm not like middle. I'm not sitting in the fence saying, I just don't care enough. Mm-hmm. If you want to shout and bawl against people that want to live in a safer Britain and that want to be loyal to whatever it is, that's your position. I just want to, I'm a Scotsman. I'm Scottish before I'm anything. I don't have any problem being British either. I couldn't really care less. I'm not out waving flags and running around doing it. You know, I know people that do. It's just personally not my thing, because I've got more important stuff to get on with. I'm trying to stop him getting to his son or his daughter. I'm trying to stop devious people, you know, penetrating a child's mind and getting them to do what they want. And then it rapidly becomes a whole lot worse and another life is ruined and all the rest of it. There's nothing heroic about what we do. Forget that. That's nonsense as well. We shouldn't even need to exist. Yeah, I'm not the first person at this. There's other guys I could mention that have been doing it for years and they've done incredible work and nobody even knows their name. Mm-hmm. I seem to get a bit of traction because people seem to, I don't know, they seem to like listening to what I say. Maybe I've got a way of saying it. Maybe it's just the way I talk. I don't know.
Mate, we've been in here for half an hour. I've hardly said 2 words and I'm
fixed in.
I'm fixed in.
Yeah.
I'm zoned in. You're saying you don't know why people are listening. I can't stop listening.
Aye.
Maybe I talk too much.
No.
You ever thought about politics?
No.
I'm voting for
such
you.
thing as politics.
I'm voting for
Where we
you.
live, we're told today.
That would mean somebody would be paying me to say what they wanted.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't let that. You would just say,
Of course
what
I wouldn't, so I'll never get a bite of the cherry.
No.
This is what you need to understand, right? Let's get to let's change course here. What you see with politics and people piping up, they are being paid to push bills through Parliament for a corporation. There is nothing else at play other than that. That's politics in one sentence. It's who's paying you the most money to get them across the line and navigate them to first base so that they can grow their enterprise. So they need legislation shifted, they need this overturned, they need that bill, tweaked a little bit to suit their passage to monetisation. That's all it's about.
Aye.
That's all it's ever been about. The lords, you become a lord, baroness, all of that nonsense. Look at the way the VIP lane was conducted. You got a direct phone call to Gove. I want that. We can facilitate that. We've got an email in China. That's all you need. Boom, 200 million quid. Boom. That's how easy somebody with no employees, no stock, no facilities, nothing. All they had was a route to market from an email.
Fuck's sake.
200 million quid. People work their entire lives building companies and never become millionaires. And all they had to do was be in a VIP lane and get a phone call to their mate. And it was done endlessly. And I'm talking about they made thousands of people multi-millionaires. They're all friends. The local pub landlord, he got a contract for tens of millions because he owned the boozer that rat drank in. Matt Hancock. He should be in jail.
I know, I was about to say.
These people are parasites. He made his landlord a multi-millionaire overnight with one phone call. And there's been no criminality around this. These people are the absolute danger to our existence. And people don't realise it, and they still gloss over the facts, and they still don't know what lockdown was, and they still don't know what the fake pandemic was. They still don't know what it was.
And there's certain
Divide
baronesses
and conquer.
that making all sorts of millions at it.
All it was is let's slap them around, let's slap the population around and see how much they'll take. Let's see where their breaking point is. And if we can hoodwink them with this, we can hoodwink them with anything.
It's like sheep in a field, isn't it?
And that's what they're doing. And now there is no limit to what they'll do with control. Well, all the digitalisation of it or everything.
Aye,
who's behind that
digital
firm?
ID. What's this about?
Tony Blair's son's behind that
It's
firm
all
as well.
interlinked. Oh, I've said it in a dozen podcasts. Just follow the money. It's really easy if you take yourself away from Netflix for a couple of hours. Just follow the money.
Aye.
Go and read, and don't read a biased funded platform. Don't have your mind poisoned by bias. Don't have anybody implant a narrative in your head. Go and do your own due diligence. Go down the rabbit hole. Do what I done. And when you come offline and you wake up the next morning and you realise that everything is a lie, everything is interlinked. Nothing that you see out in the high street, no company you see being super successful is off the back of hard work. None of these labelled corporations are from hard work.
Yeah, but they like to kid on it as.
Right? It's not. It's who's behind it. The funding is endless. All of the money goes into a pot, and they've got access to that pot. You don't. I could make a £100 million company in 5 or 6 years if I was given the right finance.
Yeah.
I'll never be given an opportunity to get to that finance. We're not part of that. We don't fit the criteria. We're not in the 1 or 2%. We're not linked to these people. It's us and it's them, and it will always be that way. And people just need to wake up. Look at the destruction of society just now. Right? Look how the denigration of what we see every single day, look how it's collapsed. Look how this city's collapsed in 5 years. Just drive along the motorway and look at a road verge, and you'll see dirt and grime and debris that deep in any road in central Scotland. and look at this infrastructure, how it's collapsed and how it's coming to a standstill. This is the end of days, what we are seeing. That's what's happening. I don't need to dramatise anything to get a few views on a podcast. This is the proof is in the pudding. It's right in front of you, staring you in the face every single day. You don't walk through the city and see a happy, healthy population. You see a hell of a lot of people that are struggling with every single aspect of their existence. And they're walking home from an 8-hour shift, deciding whether or not to put a top up, to put their heating on, or put food in their fridge.
Yeah.
Some
that's the
state,
harsh
innit?
reality.
This is where we're at.
Aye.
Why did we allow it? I'm not going to ask, how did we get here? We know how we got here because we allowed it. Why did we allow it? It's more important.
Yeah.
Not enough people
I feel as if stuff like this never happens overnight. You sleepwalk into it, don't you? And then before you know it, it's already gone.
We're 5 months in. Sorry to go back. We're 5 months into this grooming gang inquiry, right? They even softened up the title of it for public consumption. We're 5 months in. Jess Phillips has never even nominated a chairman. There's no chair in that inquiry. And the ex-copper that they thought they were going to get has just said, I'm not touching that with a barge pole. I'm out. He doesn't want to know. There's 2 young women who are survivors that have just resigned from it yesterday. Another couple have resigned. 4 have dropped since yesterday. I've been speaking to them. And there's incredible amounts of internal cover-up. They're getting directed what to say, they're getting directed where to look, and they're getting told where not to look, more importantly. The cover-up of the cover-up is being funded to the tune of tens of millions. So all it's going to do is regurgitate what we already know, rehash and respin it and deliver it into the public domain as findings. And the very last line will be, lessons will be learned.
Aye. We won't do it again.
The same way as lessons will be learned when Ian Huntley killed Holly and Jessica in Soam 21 years ago. Lessons will be learned. The loophole Huntley used to get the job was still open last year. A loophole that any sexual predator could use to change his name and change his history and erase his criminal past and access a job as a janitor.
How is that so normal? That's
Aye.
absolutely terrifying.
I caught a janitor of a school a year and a bit ago, and they can't do anything about him until he's convicted, but he's going to be in bail for 2.5 years.
Back into his
Is he
job.
still working in the school?
This is what happens. This is across the board. This is everywhere. The Scottish Government are currently shitting themselves in case they have to address and compensate potentially 90,000 women that went through Fornethi respite home for girls from the 60s to the early 90s. I've never met anybody that was there that wasn't physically, mentally or sexually abused. I've also never met a woman that was there that can say anything good about one member of staff in that place. That's a systemic behaviour that encapsulates everybody, and the people there become it. If you expose somebody to something long enough, they will become it. They will normalise it.
Aye.
I saw with a guy a few years ago who took a job in a place that looks after delinquent young men. And I did some work with them many years ago when they used to bring them up to one of the fisheries and stuff. Good lads, just off the rails. Coming from broken homes, abused, all the rest of it. Horrible. And he got this job, and then he said something to me. Not a mate of mine, just somebody that I was in contact with, and he said, yeah, I just, if they misbehave, I just do this, and I just punch them in the back of the head.
Fuck's sake.
And I thought I was hearing things, and I called him out, and I said, what did you say? I says, is that what you do? Aye. Yeah, aye. He was laughing. I says, I don't know if you're trying to impress me. I said, but I'm not that guy. And at that moment in time, I knew what kind of person he was in the absolute. That's sadism. That's a sadistic, disturbed person.
Why are people like that always getting jobs that are...
And this is the thing. There is no criteria to get these jobs in care. Any mug can go and get them. Which paints a really bad picture of the very decent people that's in these positions, that give their life to caring for broken youths and damaged young people. And it's starting to get to a point where the dangerous people that have accessed these jobs are outweighing the good. I don't say that lightly, because I know I'll be called out for it, but I can validate it. I can point people in any direction and say, well, if that's your argument, go and look here, and then look there, and then go and look at that, and then come back to me with your opinion, because I know that you'll share mine at the end of it. That's how bad it's got. Nobody's talking about the thousands of nurses from West African countries that are operating in hospitals all over the country just now, when the NHS have known for 5 years that all their paperwork's fraudulent and fabricated and fake, and none of them are qualified. And they're in maternity wards in Glasgow delivering babies. But they can't do anything about it now.
Aye.
No. It's nothing to do with doing something about it. They're terrified of the same thing that's covered up decades of organised rape. The race card.
Yeah.
That's the only thing people fear. Why? Why are they so scared of it? It's just a label.
Yep.
It doesn't hold any weight. I've been called racist. When? When was I racist?
Aye.
I don't even pay attention to it anymore. It's got so little meaning and it's got no weight. It doesn't mean anything. It's just nonsense. It's just what people throw at you when they've got nothing more substantive to come at you with, when they don't have a substantial enough argument, or they don't know the facts, or they can't have a dialogue with you, or they can't have a debate because they don't know what they're talking about, so they just call you a bigot or a far right thug, you know, or a neo. I've been called a neo-Nazi, and I was like, I was standing, I was like, what did you say? She's like, you're a neo-Nazi, and I was like, in my head, a neo-Nazi's get the old bomber jacket, the 18-hole docks and the skinhead with, you know, I don't know, a big earring or something. And I was like, I'm thinking back to Edward Norton's portrayal in American History X, which was an incredible bit of acting. And I'm thinking, I don't look like that, do I? I also don't think I act like that, and I don't think I speak like that, and I probably don't know enough about Nazism or white supremacy to even have an opinion in the subject. I just know it's not me. And this woman then called a 11-year-old child a neo-Nazi, and she's part of, you know, our opposition, our paid opposition. She's one of the main speakers and the main, you know, people that put it together. Nasty looking individual in her own right. I'm assuming she identifies as a woman. I've got no idea what she would maybe come across as. You know, if you passed her in a dark night, you wouldn't know what you'd passed. Let me put it that way, without being too harsh on her. Strange to be called that, and I thought, is this the best you can come at me with? Because in that whole day, it was in Paisley, all we'd spoken about was this and child exploitation and apps and things that are damaging children, and giving a bit of advice how to try and combat it. Nobody was standing there with a football strip on or any type of logo or
bomber jackets. Nothing
like that. It was just basically me talking into a microphone, and hundreds of them turned up to counter me. And I was scratching my head, and I went over and I was like, I don't want to get into a fight with you or an argument, but why are you here?
Aye.
I said, you do know that I run a child protection team where we try and help parents combat this problem. You do know that's all I'm really, truly interested in. They never come back with anything. They just continued shouting and bawling and calling us racists and calling us everything. And there was coppers there as well, and they were looking at me, and this copper was standing and looking at me like that. And at the end of the day, I walked by him, and they were pretty decent. And he was like, I says, mate, you look like you've been scratching your head all day. And he's like, I've got no idea. They're not meant to give you their opinions. He just went, I've got no idea what that was about, or how they can correlate what you're saying to racism and extreme opinion and far right, ideology and all of that. And it's just labels. They mean nothing. We need to move on from it.
You'll probably find, if one of the 100 people that came to protest you, if something was to happen to one of their children, they'd probably come to you for help.
Well, I'll come back at you. They've got nowhere else to go to.
That's true, aye.
Okay? So, in that inbox, any one of you can be free to look in it. You'll see things with follow-ups and stars that I need to go back in because they're ongoing. And you'll see hundreds, if not thousands, of the same thing, which is parents going into police stations to report grooming on their kids' phone and being told nothing we can do.
Aye.
I can document this thousands of times. So be scared if you've got kids, because the police can't help you.
That I've actually experienced with that.
Yep.
That happened with one of my daughters.
Yeah.
It was a male that contacted them, and they ended up contacting a friend group, and they send pictures. As soon as that first picture gets sent, I was quite proud of her because she came and says, Dad, this is what's happened. So I get in touch with the police, and the police said they followed back the IP address or something. I can't remember what it was, but it said it came from Jordan.
Yep.
No, you, Jordan.
I was about to say, wait a minute here.
Wait a minute. It came from Jordan, so they've not got any legal precedence over there.
No, they don't. So they can't obtain warrants.
They can't chase it up.
Yeah.
But
it's like Snapchat, which is the most widely abused platform.
so I was just sitting baffled. Like,
Yeah.
I'm coming at you with a crime, and you're telling me there's nothing you can do. Yeah, if I go and put a brick through that fucking shop window and take the register, I'm jailed.
But
What's the difference?
But that's something that they can quickly deal with.
Aye.
That the other thing that you mentioned would take a lot of work and manpower.
Yeah.
And the potential outcome would be nothing. So Snapchat's
shit system.
platformed out of the States, and they can't obtain warrants for it. So there's no team in the UK that will touch Snapchat. I'll go after people in Snapchat. I think I'm the only hunter that does. I've caught people off of Snapchat, caught Callum Toombs off of Snapchat.
It was Instagram that
Instagram's getting really bad, and it's getting really prolific for grooming. Do we have the time to take it on? Absolutely not. There's a whole untapped demographic. Instagram, all of the platforms, Kick, an old there's platforms that suit the elderly, like Kick. There's newer platforms, you know, you've got all the Google chats and stuff, all the Google chat rooms. Anything that's got a chat room facility, I can guarantee you 100% there will be predators active on it every single day. There is no safe app. There's no safe app.
Aye.
There is no safety online. People need to get this through their heads. If your kids are online, they're going to be targeted. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Aye.
It's going to happen. And it might not be in the sexually exploitive way. It could be bullying.
Aye.
It could be directing your child to self-harm. It could be directing your child to a platform where there's live suicides being streamed into their phone and directing them to do it. Telling your child how to put their head in a noose. That should carry a mandatory life sentence if you direct a child to end their life.
Aye.
It happens nearly every day somewhere. This is happening everywhere. Children are being targeted by adults that go from bored to absolute lunatics, deviant, sexual deviants, predatory maniacs, paedophiles that are hell-bent on getting their gratification any way they can. Society's fallen. There is no way back. There's no cure. All we're doing is bandaging what's happening. It's got to a point where all I see is darkness coming. I don't see anything better. And that's a burden in itself. Because I've got kids, and maybe one day they're going to have kids, and I'll not be here. So I need to expose them to things, and I need to make sure that before I leave this planet, that they know how to defend themselves. And I mean in the most brutal way. That's not a nice thing to have to educate your children on.
No, and I agree with you as well.
But you can't have your children living in a bubble and everything's rosy. If you've got a nice big house up in Kilmacombe and you've done well and you've got all the money, that doesn't mean you can protect your kids. I could set an account up right now and do it live on this podcast and have 500 kids on it in 15 minutes, and I could box 5 of them off and have them doing exactly what I want, like that. That's how easy it is.
Yeah, aye.
That's terrifying.
Vulnerable,
But see, the thing is, but I think the net's getting wider as well, because you're talking about Snapchat as an app. You're thinking about apps like Roblox as well now. That's got a chat. And kids who are maybe going on that from 5 upwards are now being targeted, who are a lot more impressionable. It's just scary.
I think it comes down to having to monitor what your kids have got, because I thought I was quite switched on when it came to monitoring them online, and it took, like you're saying,
That's all it
that.
takes, mate.
It took that, and she was responsible enough to come to me and say, this has happened, and it was like that day. So I've been very vigilant. Like, Instagram's gone. You ain't getting it. It's not happening. I want to see everything that's on your phone. I want to see every single online, every app. I want to see the messages. I want to see who you're talking to. And I've kept that up. And I think that's what we need to do. If you're going to be online, you need to make sure you know who your kids are.
And parents do it
talking
once
to.
or twice and then they fall out of the habit. And I get it. We're all busy. Everybody's busy. And things get in the way. And you go, I'll check tomorrow. You can't just sit in your kid's phone. I completely understand it. So I'm always trying to think up creative ways to get the message out there to make things a bit easier. And I even thought about trying to get help to develop an app, to develop some type of QR code that you scan, and it immediately it puts like not a virus, but it just goes in and it just sanitizes your kid's device, and it works off of words like pro words, like buzzwords, like certain words, and it can read, like the algorithm. I know that the algorithm can read tone. So when I say something to you as a sexual innuendo, that algorithm can read that and it understands it in a human capacity. So why can they not identify everybody that's having a sexual chat with a minor? I know that they can. They absolutely can.
But it's what happens.
But they don't. But they
at the
don't
end,
do it.
innit?
The app developers are beyond reproach. I've reached out to them over the years. They're not interested. I'm small potatoes. I don't matter. I'm one guy. Why would they care about what I've got to say? When their platforms are generating billions of pounds in revenues, they're servicing a market. The predatory adult market globally is worth billions of pounds annually. More probably. Somebody somewhere's going to service that market. Paedophilia is barely even taboo these days. People look the other way. His conviction was 10 years ago. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal because it never changes. You don't change. You don't dip your toes into paedophilia and then become decent and become morally opposed to it. That doesn't happen. There's no documented case anywhere in the universe where somebody has been cured of being a paedophile. The only thing that cures paedophiles is a bullet.
Aye, I fucking agree with that.
And this is what happens. We've already normalised decades of rape gangs. It's normalised. People know about it and they don't even care.
Why was it so prevalent back then? Like within them communities, why because
it's
happen.
cultural.
Aye.
Nobody wants to stand up in the House of Commons or the Lords, whatever it's called, Westminster, and shout out the truth. It's cultural.
Aye.
I'll get slaughtered when this airs.
Aye.
It is cultural.
I agree. I agree.
It's an
I agree.
ideology.
Aye.
And if you want to start talking about books that are responsible for propagating it, then do so. Talk about the book that propagates it, regardless of how you read it. I've read it cover to cover.
I think the main guy married somebody when they were 6, didn't he? So
If you want to idolise a prophet that married a child and consummated that marriage with sex before any reasonable age of consent, no matter what walk of life you come from, well, that's something that has to be addressed. You can't just shy away from the facts. And I've never met anyone that denies that occurred. Who is a practicing Muslim. They can't deny it because it's right there in black and white text. And if that's the book that you are indoctrinated by, and if that's the path to your enlightenment, and you justify it because you worship the man, well, that's your beliefs. And I want to live in a democracy where if you have those beliefs, I'm okay with that. They'll never be my beliefs. Just the same way as half the stuff written in the King James Bible is probably a load of rubbish as well, in my opinion. But it's only my opinion. So don't get all upset about my opinion. Because if we want to be democratic, then I should be entitled to one. And it doesn't mean that when I air it, you should hate me for it. Just the same way as I don't have hatred for somebody that follows that path and worships that ideology. I have a problem with the extreme radicalisation of that ideology. I don't have a... And people... I see a lot of terminology, moderate Muslims and moderate... that. Scrub all that. The text tells you that the problem is in the text, that anybody that doesn't agree with it is a target or an infidel or whatever. And people say, no, you've misread it. I don't think I have misread it, and I don't think I'm somebody that struggles to read text and understand what's meant by it. So, but the problem is, it's a very easy narrative to spin from me saying this. The racist, we go back to it every time the race card gets pulled.
Yeah.
There's problems with Christianity. I've never made any secret that, about things like, for instance, the Catholic Church covering up global paedophilia in their ranks and calling it sick leave. We're talking about tens of thousands of priests that systematically raped boys all over the world, unchallenged by any pope. That's a problem.
Of course.
But now if I talk like that, now the Catholic population or the Republican population will turn on me for calling out their church. Or even worse, daring to call out their football club that covered it up. But they're not the only football club that covered it up, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Exactly. You know, I find
it's in every football club. It's in every institution where children go. It's in the Scout movement. Baden-Powell wrote a book called Scouting for Boys. Now, I don't want to misinterpret the title, but there's Scout leaders all over the planet that have been caught out abusing young boys in their care. It's in the services. Let's talk about that. We're all servicemen. I'll talk about my service, the Royal Marines. Off the top of my head, I could name 5 guys that some of them went all the way to Regimental Sergeant Major or Sergeant Major or WO1 that were predatory adults, predatory paedophiles in the Royal Marines. So is all the lads that I've served with now going to hate me because I've called out the service, because I've called the corps out? Unfortunately, I'll call anything out. I don't care what it is. I also don't care if it has a kickback and people get embarrassed and hate me for it. There are men that were in the service that were predatory and predated on young recruits and serving ranks and got away with it. And I know who they are.
See, I
I think
think
we're the same in the Scots Guards.
Yeah.
And it's in the-
I think it's mad.
I
that
know
people
about it in
want-
the Scots Guards.
Yep.
people
Believe
want to
me,
get
you
all
wouldn't
angry.
believe who's in my inbox telling me stuff.
Serious.
Parachute Regiment, Aldershot, everywhere. This is everywhere.
Mhm.
People, men, become predatory, and they will do whatever they do. And we all know what went on at Deep Cut. That was down to predatory men
Yeah.
and women. There are predatory women in the service that predating young women in the service, and they're so terrified because they're a sergeant or a warrant officer that it. I could tell you stuff. I want to tell you stuff right now, but it's a live case, and it's massive, and it's going back to the courts. It's going back to the courts, and it's a family that don't live far from here, whose son lost their life in an army base in the most bizarre circumstances, and it was completely covered up by the MOD. I don't mind calling it out.
But it's heartbreaking that we're having to call it out. It shouldn't be happening.
Aye.
But it's mad that when you do call it out, like you were saying, if you call it out for a football club, then the fans of that club are going to hate you. You call it out for a religion, the followers of that religion are going to hate you. How can they people not just go, fuck, that's a beast?
Because you can't win. If I talk about Islam, I'm a thug, I'm a racist, I'm far right.
But all
If
you're-
I
all
talk
you're
about
talking is the
Catholicism,
beast that follows that religion.
I'm an arsehole, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a bigot. If I talk about loyalists, you only need to, I could bring things up on my phone. Leaders of loyalist movements in Belfast being caught predating 10-year-old girls.
Yep.
I could probably pull up half a dozen of them without even trying. The Masonic Lodge. This is not unique to a movement. This is not unique to one thing over the other. I caught a nurse last month for the Jubilee, predating 10-year-old girls, and we let him up. A guy that's supposed to save kids' lives.
Aye.
We've caught dentists, paediatricians. This is not about. But when we've spoke there about this national inquiry, which is a complete and utter fallacy, it's a total failure. It will never get out the starting blocks because they would have to indict thousands of civil servants. A lot of them will be retired, and put them all in jail. I'm talking about thousands and thousands of civil servants that looked the other way, hundreds upon hundreds of coppers that looked the other way, senior officers that looked the other way, covered it up. It's all documented. We know who they are. We don't need to spend millions in an inquiry. We've got everything we need. What we need to do is spend millions making a difference and implementing change so that it never happens again. But at this moment in time, grooming gangs in the UK are out of control. Grooming's out of control. Predation of young girls is out of control. The molestation of young boys by people in the LGBT community is out of control. Rape's out of control by white men on white women. Sexual assault on anybody is out of control.
Yeah.
So people will go, you're only talking about Pakistani men. No, I'm not. I'm talking about every day. The majority of sexual assaults in the UK will be conducted by white British men because white British men far outweigh Asian men, right? In number. But when you go to the statistics and you break it down, then there's a very, very obvious disproportionate number of offences by ethnicity, which the UK government will shy away from, turn the other cheek and look the other way, and they will not record criminality by ethnicity. If rape's been conducted, if there's a rape being reported every hour, and this is only what's reported, which is never a true reflection of the number, because rape's reported, 99% of rapes never convert to conviction at trial. They get binned by the CPS and the fiscal in Scotland. Rape's the hardest thing to convict on. Most reporters of rape are fobbed off at the desk. Same with historic abuse. They're literally fobbed off. I've got hundreds of documented cases of it happening in police stations in Scotland. So it's a very disproportionate number of that type of criminality by an ethnic group, but they will not report it because they're still terrified of the same race card that's covered it up since the 1970s. This is a behaviour that's been prolific for 50 years. It's not anything new, and it's not going to go away. So we've got an existing gigantic industrial scale problem. We are now compounding that problem with tens of thousands of young, unvetted males from countries with extremely low age demographics, some countries that don't recognise an age of consent. And we are bringing them here en masse with our open policies, our welfare state, you know, come and get this, come and get that. And some of them are getting caught after stepping off a boat, and 3 days later they've raped a young girl in a bush 100 metres from where their boat landed. One guy arrived here and sexually assaulted young girls within an hour of getting off a boat. This is all documented. So we're compounding an already massive scale problem with throwing that on top of it as well, which is a whole other massive problem to handle. And if we don't have the facilities to grab a hold of the problem that we have got staring us in the face and address everything that's led up to where we are today, why would we throw something over the top of it, which is already massive as well in itself? Because we need to get to a point where I want to know who's committing the crime. So if I'm committing a crime, a white Scottish male, that it should say white Scottish male.
Yeah.
All down my comments, people will write. See, what I'm now noticing a trend of when I share a white guy that's been caught, right? I'm now noticing in the comments people from an ethnic background saying, why haven't you mentioned his ethnic group? I say, because he's very clearly a white British male or a white Caucasian. I don't share a sting and say, this Pakistani. It's pretty obvious by looking at somebody that they're from Asia or they're wherever. So who cares? It's just people try and twist it into something else. Let's just record every type of sexual crime by ethnic group. Let's just get the truth out. Why is it so taboo to be honest? And why is it so difficult for the media to be at the courts and get an up-to-date image? And it should be law that when you're indicted on a sexual offence, your face, your up-to-date screenshot is taken and broadcast to the population. And in the newspapers, there should be a page that everybody knows they can go to, or a format online that's the singular format where every single sexual offender's mugshot is listed on a daily basis the minute they leave court convicted. We're nowhere near that occurring. So it's down to awareness pages like us, Fighting Justice, Fleetwood, Cost, everybody that does awareness, Nimrod, Gumshoe, they're a massive awareness page. Robert Simpson, people like that put awareness out every day. Shades, the team down in Ayrshire. This is what we do. Because the journalists are failed, the media's failing every day. They're not interested. Why? I speak to the editor of a national newspaper. He said, Alex, it won't even make the clippings. It's not news. Listing rapists and sex offenders going through Edinburgh High Court doesn't sell newspapers. No one's interested in it. Why? Because we've normalised it. Why? Because it's so common.
Aye.
It's happening every single day. It doesn't sell. He's right. It doesn't sell papers.
Aye.
What sells papers is Kim Kardashian's new partner, or David Beckham's new gardening clothing range, or something like that, or some guy buying a Bugatti, or Andrew Tate being falsely accused by somebody else for something else. That sells. This doesn't sell. That doesn't sell.
Real life doesn't sell.
Yeah,
Correct.
Reality's
You said it.
crazy, man.
Aye.
So we're so far removed from getting to a place where we can actually say, do you know, we're actually making a difference here. This is working. What we're doing is working. We're only scratching the surface. This is in its absolute infancy. Yeah. I would need to live 10 lifetimes to even put something out that could capture what I want to capture in a way that people could absorb it and consume it and understand it within an hour. There's too much. Yeah. Everything's corrupted. Every single part of our lives and our existence has been corrupted by an entity that is profiteering from abuse, from scandal, from exploitation. They're all failed. Every authority in the UK has failed in its duty across the board, and it's all easy to prove. Nothing works. The justice system's failed. It's broken. It's beyond repair.
It's horrendous, but I think we're up for time, by the way.
Aye.
And we never even got to get into what we wanted to get into, but
we never do.
But
I could sit and do that.
I know
again.
we need to go for an art. We could do a 10-parter, but it's very sobering.
The next big thing, right, and I'm going to try really hard to make it the next big story in Scotland, is the Fernethi. That's just massive. The Fernethi survivors. That's still really untapped. The media are not on it yet. Nobody is. And I'm trying to target the English media, GB News, platforms that are big. We just don't get a look in up here. So that's going to be the next big thing.
Well, can we go with a part 2 and just hammer on that?
Yeah. Potentially 90,000 women up there. You know, potentially 90,000 victims. I believe there is. I believe that, and a lot of them will be deceased now, tragically. But they all deserve acknowledgement, compassion, compensation. A lot of those cases would have ended in alcoholism, drugs, early death, normalising abuse. And I speak to these people, and there's already been an old woman convicted a couple of days ago for her abuse at Fernethi. She's near the end of her life, so it doesn't matter. It's small potatoes in the bigger scheme of things. There are abusers everywhere that have gotten a pass. I called them out a few years ago, some of them in the city chambers that are in council pensions, that were at Kibble and places like that, Kerry Law, and they're abusers, and they're in there soaking it up, lording it up, and they'll never be called out. And I need people to come forward, and we need to come together, and we need to raise a class action, and we need to bring the house down. The only way to destroy a system is to be disgusted by it and attack it head on. And that's it. You know, I always say it. If you want to make a difference, you have to be bothered by something, seriously bothered by it, enough to give yourself a shake and go and tackle it.
I'm not going to finish this one. We normally finish it because I want to do a part 2 as soon as we can, as soon as we possibly can. Aye, because
I know. I know you said writing like a schedule, something that we can.
But I just feel as
difficult.
If no, and there's
my
too
brain
many.
Doesn't work like that.
But there's too many people ignoring what's going on, and we need to talk about it. But we'll definitely need to get a part 2 in. But we're out of time as it goes. But I don't normally we finish and we want to say like positively and things like that. But I don't. I want people to actually open their eyes to what's going on. You know, I feel like there's too many people. I know for a fact there's people that want to say how they feel, but they don't want. They're not going to say it in case they get labelled. And I think that's where we're at now. So that's how I feel in that matter. And I can only thank you for sharing your wisdom. But any use want to?
Oh, thanks for coming on.
I just
I'm honestly riveted, man.
I just want to say thanks for your dedication,
yes,
and your selflessness, mate. You're out fucking every day, and it's obviously it's taking over your life a wee bit, and you still carry on to fight a good fight. So
I'm not an easy person to be around.
Let's try and get us set up another one, but as soon as we can, because what you were talking about there as well. We spoke briefly about it on the phone, and I really want to go into it as well. There's too much getting ignored and brushed away. And what you're doing, isn't it? I know you're not doing it for anything else purely except for justice. So
I'm trying to that you know, doing stings is doing stings. I get it, and it will always be conducted, and it's something we'll always do. I'm trying to bring the system down. I'm trying to expose the things that the public don't get to see.
Yeah.
Try to say, look, this is what's been done in your name. This is the money that has been spent on failure after failure in your name. This is truly where your tax dollars go. And these are the people failing you on an industrial scale. This is bigger than you could ever imagine. The biggest scandal ever is going to be this, what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Believe me, it is.
Aye.
And all the names that come out of the hat. Watch them run for the hills.
Well, I'm going
Cheers,
to say
guys.
Thank you
this
very much
is
for
we're
coming,
going
Alex.
we're going to announce before this comes out when we get next one on anyway. But no, really
Surprised
appreciate
you have got
that.
any followers, man, putting me on all the
No,
time.
No,
this
I
is
love
a
it.
nail in a fish.
Cheers.
And that's
Thanks,
your good
guys.
man, Alex.
Cheers.
So we appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Sean. Thank you.